Imagine a torch lit in the midst of darkness. It was raised to illuminate the last days of human history. This torch represents the Adventist Church, called to proclaim the truth in the end times. But prophecy warned, in the last days, many will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits, 1 Timothy 4 verse 1. Is this warning being fulfilled before our eyes? Is the light that should shine brightly being stifled by the wind of conformity? The Adventist Church was born to be different, to be faithful, to announce the return of Christ. But today, a question echoes loudly. Is the SDA Church straying from the truth? Before we continue, please like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any prophetic alerts like this one. Reaffirmation of the prophetic role of the SDA Church. Before any warning, we need to remember who the Adventist Church is in the divine plan. It is not just another Christian denomination. It is the people who fulfill the prophecy of Revelation 12 verse 17. Those who keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. This is the mark of the remnant. A people who do not live by fads, but by the eternal word. While many adapt to the standards of the world, the SDA Church has been called to be countercultural. To raise the banner of the Ten Commandments, when the whole world is moving toward rejecting them. Today, this church is present in more than 200 countries, proclaiming the message of the three angels, Revelation 14 verses 6 to 12, on every continent. Millions of voices preaching about health, hope, life reform, and above all, announcing Christ is coming soon. But precisely because this is a prophetic church, Satan sees it as his main target. He knows he cannot destroy the truth, but he tries to weaken those who defend it. That is why the most intense battles do not take place outside, they take place within the church. The prophetic warning. Why does this question make sense? Why are we raising this issue? Because the Bible warned us that this would happen. In 1 Timothy 4 verse 1, we read, "In the last days, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons." And Jesus reinforced this warning in Matthew 24 verse 24. False Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. This means that the great threat would not only come from outside, but could infiltrate the people who keep the truth. And Ellen White was clear about this. In her writings, she states, "We should not be surprised if apostasies arise, because the enemy seeks to infiltrate in order to weaken God's work." Paraphrase based on Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5. But beware. This does not mean that the Adventist Church will be destroyed. Ellen White firmly declares that there will be a shaking, a process that will reveal who is standing firm in the truth and who is merely occupying a seat in the church. The question, then, is not whether the SDA Church will cease to be God's people. The question is, are we ready to stand firm when this shaking comes upon each of us? If you feel you are prepared to remain faithful to God's truth, leave your comment below and share your commitment to Christ. We want to hear from you. Write down your decision and inspire other members of the remnant to stand firm as well. Noticeable changes. What is generating discussion? While the Adventist Church continues to be a light in the world, some internal changes have caught the attention of leaders and dedicated believers. It is important to emphasize that this does not represent the entire church, but these are signs that require spiritual vigilance and personal reflection. Among the most noticeable debates are growing worldliness. Some human practices, previously external to the faith, have entered into official church services, events, and programs. Recent examples include the excessive use of music or performances that are more reminiscent of concerts than worship, themed parties in youth celebrations, and adaptations of sermons to please audiences rather than emphasizing the Word of God. None of this compromises the central message, but they are warning signs. It is necessary to distinguish between practices that build faith and elements that can weaken it. Liberal theology in some regions. In certain contexts, interpretations arise that relativize the Bible, soften prophetic teachings, or reinterpret the fundamentals of the Adventist faith. For example, debates about certain biblical doctrines that were once clear, or the presentation of sermons that minimize the importance of the second coming and the final judgment. This approach can confuse members, especially new ones, by shifting the focus away from the central calling of the church. The Iasd has always stood out for its faithfulness to the Word, and the challenge is to maintain this firm foundation, remembering that truth does not change with time or social trends. Less emphasis on prophecy and Christ's return in some pulpits. The announcement of Christ's second coming and the study of prophecy are at the heart of the Adventist mission. In some regions, it is possible to notice services or programs where the emphasis on prophecy and the final judgment is more discreet, or subordinate to themes of personal motivation. Reducing or weakening this preaching alters the perception of the mission God has entrusted to the church and diminishes the urgency of the message that must be proclaimed to the world. When this happens, younger members may not fully understand the importance of living according to God's commandments and the faith of Jesus. Influence of external trends. Some programs, materials, or campaigns have sought to attract through style or appearance, rather than emphasizing biblical content and spiritual formation. Examples include lecture series with a focus on marketing, youth entertainment programs that prioritize image and sensation, or events where the Bible takes a back seat. The goal is not to criticize, but to alert us to the need for discernment, maintaining the essence of faith. Even in the face of these trends, thousands of faithful remain vigilant, studying the Bible, praying, and maintaining unshakable faith. They are living proof that the light of the SDA Church continues to shine brightly, even amid internal difficulties and challenges. The important thing is that each member recognizes the changes, reflects on them, and strengthens their commitment to the truth, contributing to the Church's prophetic mission continuing steadfastly in the world. What the Bible and Ellen White say about this. The Bible gives us clear warnings about the last days and the spiritual state of God's people. In Revelation 3 verses 14 to 17, we read about Laodicea. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So, because you are lukewarm, and neither cold nor hot, I will vomit you out of my mouth. This warning is not an attack, but a call to vigilance and faithfulness. It reminds us that even within the remnant people, spiritual lukewarmness is a real risk. And Ellen White reinforces this truth. The Lord has a church. It is not the great cathedral, nor the denominations, but the people who keep the commandments. The Great Controversy, page 376. She warns that shaking is necessary to separate the true faithful from those who merely follow traditions. But beware, God does not abandon the SDA Church. The promise is clear, He will remain with the people who choose to remain faithful, even when not everyone does. This passage and this advice show us that the Church continues to be the remnant, but the call is for each member to evaluate their own faithfulness and commitment to the truth. In the face of signs and warnings, the answer is not to become discouraged or abandon the Church, but to strengthen our own faithfulness. Each member of the remnant is called to be an active light, studying the Bible, praying without ceasing, and defending the principles that God has entrusted to the SDA Church. Ellen White exhorts us. The world's greatest need is for men and women who will not be bought or sold. Education, page 57. This means living with integrity, not conforming to the world, but standing firm in the truth. True reform begins in each heart before it transforms the community. Spiritual vigilance is not just a defensive attitude. It is an act of love for God and the Church, ensuring that the light of the remnant continues to shine, even in times of turmoil. Remember, personal faithfulness strengthens all of God's work. The Adventist Church remains the remnant people, chosen by God to proclaim the truth in the last days. But for that light to never go out, each member must be vigilant, steadfast, and committed to the Word of God. The warning is clear, the shaking will come, but those who remain faithful will be strengthened. Now, the choice is personal. Commitment to the truth begins within each heart. If you want to remain faithful to the truth and be part of the remnant that God is calling, write in the comments. I choose the truth. Christ is at the door. May we be faithful to the end, keeping the prophetic mission of the SDA Church alive in our lives and in the history of the world. And remember, the light that shines through us announces the return of the King. If you have been touched by this alert and want to remain steadfast in the truth, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all prophetic alerts. Share this video with friends and family who also need to know about the mission of the remnant.